Hello, and welcome to the final episode of Wild Woman podcast for 2023, which, my God, I can hardly believe we're at this time of year. But I'm delighted as my final guest to have Delia Nohilly, a homeopath and healer, on the program with me today. She is from Loughrea on the west coast of Ireland in Galway, for any of you who are not from Ireland. And what is a lovely connection is that my mother is from Loughrea. So it's really nice at this time of the year to have that connection. So firstly, welcome, Delia. So delighted to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you very much, Celine, and I'm really honoured to be on your Wild Woman podcast today.
Well,
thanks very much for inviting me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. The first question I just want to ask you, and I think many people like me who don't know much about homeopathy, can you just start maybe by explaining what exactly is homeopathy and how it can help people?
Okay. Homeopathy, Celine, it's an energy medicine, really. Homeopathic remedies hold the energy of the substance that they're made from, such as various shrubs, plants, ink from the cuttlefish, to name but a few. And how they work really is they work with the whole person, mentally, emotionally, and physically. We're not just healing an ailment, it's taking in the personality of the person that has the ailment and matching a remedy to that person. And that's why I choose to study homeopathy going back in 2005, because that's what I loved, that healing the whole person. It really resonated with me. And I also love that remedies are natural and safe and made from various substances in nature. And that really resonated as well with me. So that's just a brief, I suppose, idea of how it works. And yeah, I've been asked many, many times, what is it and how do they work, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because I've heard of it a lot and I've indulged once or twice. I haven't been to a homeopathist. Is there a specific, the way you said the ink there of, did you mention?
yes, the ink from the cuttlefish. Yeah, that would be, it's sepia is a well-known woman's homeopathic remedy, and it's made from the ink of the cuttlefish.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Do you make them
And
up yourself? Sorry, Delia. Do you make them up
no,
yourself?
I don't.
Okay.
No, I haven't got into making up remedies just yet, but it's something I would like to explore further on. So I buy remedies at the moment from a homeopathic supplier.
Okay. And what I read and heard just a little bit, and just in preparation, I was just trying to read a little bit. And I read that there was sort of three major laws. I think it's on your website of homeopathy. And one is that like cures like. What does that mean when you say like cures like? How would you describe that?
If a client comes with a symptom
Mm-hmm.
and a particular symptom, we'll just use a migraine, maybe, for example. So I would be looking at the person behind that migraine, the personality, and what might have triggered the migraine. Could be a trauma 2 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And I'd be matching a remedy that supports migraine and that trauma in a person, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd be matching a remedy that holds that type of, I suppose, what would you call it, maybe frequency or
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Because each of us, that's really interesting. I mean, I I think I have shared this before, and I think you know as well, Delia. I had breast cancer back in 2016, and exactly as you say, I'd always felt it took me a while to understand that it was a very, what's the word? Yeah, it was a symptom. Like when you say about treating the whole person, I knew that
Yes,
there was a much deeper cause
yes, bigger
behind.
picture.
Yes. And I
Yes,
think
and
that's
that is,
mm,
yeah, That's it, Celine. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. When a client comes with a particular symptom and they could have symptoms, maybe not sleeping well for years. I've seen it
Mm.
for people come with for years, and there could be something that triggered that. Could be the death of a loved one, could be a traumatic event, could be the loss of a job, anything. So that you have to go back to what I always go back to what happened there 5 years ago when you started, your sleep went bad, or the migraines got really bad. What happened in your life around that time, or a bit before that time?
Mm.
Because it's you know they're not, it's not just an isolated thing that various people get migraines or get cancer or whatever. There's always a lifestyle has attributed to it, or a big trauma, or yeah. And I find that fascinating and very interesting, and
Mm.
that's why I choose to healing with remedies. We're healing the whole person, trauma and all, and any traumas, and there could be several traumas in one's life, you
Yes.
know.
And
Yeah.
how do you get to the bottom of that? Is it a series of questions that you ask the person that
Yes.
helps you sort of trace back?
Yeah, it's a series of questions. We used to start with the symptom they're coming with. Why are you choosing homeopathy? What are you coming for? What's your
Mm.
symptoms? And then, I go into diet and lifestyle, personality. Are you a very quiet person, very forward person? What do you like, not like? What kind of traumas have you had in your life? What's your childhood like? Um, if there's a trauma, what happened and how long ago, and how did you deal with it at the time? And all that type of question. What are your fears in life? And we all have fears,
And do you
you
find
know.
most people can identify when you're going through with them, maybe the traumas, the way sometimes we can block them out?
Yes,
So,
I generally find that most people can bring their symptom back to something specific that happened in their life, such as the breakdown of a relationship or whatever it may be. There's always some trigger back there,
and isn't
and they
it,
didn't.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and they may not have dealt with, we'll say, for example, the breakdown of a relationship at that time, and it's still affecting their life several years onwards. And now they've decided that they need to heal this and deal with it in order to have a happier life,
And isn't
you
that
know?
so? Is there a certain, I just find that really, firstly, I just think, isn't it just so empowering, but also to know that most of us can trace back really, we're wise enough, we have that wisdom within us. That's what I'm hearing when you're talking to people. We
Yeah,
all have our own inner wisdom that really, when we're maybe supported, we can trace back what is behind because they say illness,
we
isn't it?
can.
Pain is a messenger. And I always felt that with
Yes.
my with cancer. And every woman I meet, and I recently just met a woman I hadn't known recently, and she's going through breast cancer. And I started talking to her about my experience and what I
Okay.
felt was at the root cause, a combination of many things, but I knew
Yes.
it wasn't just an isolated random happening, which it isn't. And when I spoke to her, she started to say to me
Yeah.
something similar. And she hadn't
There you
really
go.
realized.
Yeah.
She said, gosh, yeah, I've experienced. So does it
Yes.
take, isn't it? So it's really, to me, very empowering and revealing to realize
Yes.
that we do truly know, usually we
We
can
do
trace back,
truly
can't
know,
we?
yes, why we're in a particular place in life, why we're sick, or why this happened. We do really know if we look into it, yes. And most people I find do know, and they're always very willing to share, and they really want the help and the support with this and to move on with their lives, you know?
Yeah. And is there
Yeah.
a common thread as to how people find their way to you? Because, many people go into the traditional conventional system, which in most cases, there's a lot of good in modern medicine. And I'm more of the
Yes, of
natural
course.
bent nowadays. Because I do believe everything, as we educate ourselves, we start to see that everything is available in nature. But I know there are many good things about modern medicine, let's say, as well. But
Yes,
what is it,
yes.
do you think, that obviously, have people been through the other system, or what do you think maybe causes people to come to you or seek, or what have you found has been a common theme in people coming to you for
Yes,
homeopathy, or would
most
there be?
people would have been through the other. Yeah, most people would have been through the other system and felt they weren't getting what they needed from it. They might say, I've been taking this now for a long time, whatever it may be, and I'm not really moving on, or I'm not getting any major relief. And have I to take this for years and years and years? And they start to question why, and then they start looking for other alternatives.
Yeah, yeah. And is it, Delia, something that you do over time? My experience and myself is often, we often want the quick fix and the quick relief. We've a bad headache, and nothing wrong, if you take something
Yeah,
for a headache or whatever. But do you find with
absolutely. Yes.
homeopathy, it's a longer, let's say, a longer term, or is it something that you have to take for quite a while, or how does it work?
As in with remedies, when it's
Yes, with the
prescribed
remedies.
remedy, is it?
Yes.
It depends on how long you've had your symptoms. When a client comes, if they come with I use a migraine headache again, for example, and they've been having them severely for 5 or 6 years, it could take a few months of different remedies to really get to the root cause of that. There generally isn't a quick fix for anything that's been there a while.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard
because
that
each remedy
often.
will bring up another. Yeah, each remedy will bring up another layer. So when you come back the second time, you could be on a different remedy, or you could be on a stronger potency of a remedy. It depends on what it brings up for the client, and every person is different. No two people will react the same to a remedy. It all depends on the person and what's ready to be healed within.
Isn't that so interesting how I
Yeah,
found that with any natural healing modalities, let's say, I've used, or, over the years, is that I found that they're generally very gentle and they work, but very powerful,
very powerful.
yeah.
Yes,
But they'll work at the level, like it's all the intelligence there that works. Our own inner
yes.
intelligence is incredible, isn't it? When we start to work with it.
Incredible, absolutely. Yes, yes. And the body just needs a gentle little push to start healing itself.
Yes. And
And
does
that's what
homeo
remedies do. They're not, you don't,
okay.
that's what remedies do. They just give the body a gentle push to start healing itself bit by bit. So when I give a remedy, it takes maybe 4 to 5 weeks for that energetic remedy to work with the person. They come back, then we discuss what changed for them, what they noticed in that time, and what's different from the time they came to me first. And then prescribe another remedy. As I said, it could be a different remedy because it could be a different layer up for healing.
Wow. And it could be could it be an
Yeah.
emotional shift, or they might say I felt very
Yes.
tired or very upset. It could be
Yes, they
that
could be
type of.
tired, they could be crying. Yeah, could be crying a lot, which is always it's not nice, but it's always a good sign. You could get a flu because your body is starting to clear out. The remedies work from inside out. So you're going to get, you may get a flu, you might be teary, you could be very tired, but your body is just telling you to rest, take it easy, rest. And if you're crying, it's just releasing. The body is just releasing and letting go. Over a few months, everything will start to heal and settle, and you'll start to feel a lot better.
So Delia, would you mind just talking a little bit as well about what led you on this path into homeopathy?
Okay, Celine. It was around, I suppose it was late 1990s, 97, 98, when a long-term relationship I had been in came to an end. And obviously it didn't just end today. It was there was a process to that ending. And so I found myself in a complete mess at that time, Celine. It was a very difficult time in my life, mentally and emotionally. I was everything. What was I? I was lost, alone, embarrassed, angry, didn't know myself, had no peace, had no inner peace or happiness, didn't know what I wanted, didn't know what I was going to do with myself. So that led me to looking inwards. Now, it wasn't directly after either. It was a period of time, like maybe 2 to 3 years, before I realized that I needed to look inwards, because I wasn't moving on with my life, I felt. And lost and didn't know myself. I was just existing really with my life, following it. And that led me to look for support for myself. And I knew I needed to look inwards and heal my own inner demons. So a friend of mine was living in Galway City at the time, and her neighbours, they weren't qualified homeopaths, but they had a good knowledge of homeopathy. And she had small children, and they used to give her remedies, helping her children with, little things like earaches and colds and the fall and all that. And she used to be talking to me about these remedies when we'd meet up, and we met regularly, And I was always fascinated with what she was telling me, because it was resonating with me. Natural remedies, she was saying they're natural remedies, and I was going, oh my God, yeah, tell me more about those. So this was going on like for a period of time, and then one day she rang me and she said, those remedies I do be talking to you about? She said, yeah. And I said, yeah, I love the conversations we have around them. She said, there's a course on that coming up in Galway. She said, oh, I said, I'd love, if you could get information on that, I would love it. I just lit up. I thought, wow, this is it. This is my time now to learn more about this. Because I remember in my school time, I was always fascinated. I was always looking at books about herbs and the healing properties of herbs. I used to read books. So even then it was there, and I was really curious about it. So when she mentioned this course, then I thought, wow, this is what I want. So I signed up for it, yeah, and I completed a 4-year course and I qualified in 2009. So during that time, then Celine, inner work, which was what I needed as well, following my own breakdown of my own relationship, and I was in my own turmoil. So I looked for my own homeopath and went on a healing journey with her, and that's when all my stuff, then my own shit came out, I suppose, and and it took several months because it was a long process, and I could see the benefits and the changes in my life using homeopathy, and that propelled me then to keep going with it. And yeah, I was fascinated by it. I absolutely loved it. And of course, the healing the whole person, really, I loved that. I was not interested in prescription drugs for where I was at. That did not resonate with me at all, just totally not. So when I found homeopathy, I knew I found what I needed for myself, first of all, and then I wanted to support and help other women.
Isn't that
and that's
wonderful?
how I came on this healing journey. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I mean, it's been a healing journey ever since, really, Celine, in some ways or others, because I would still visit homeopath myself a couple of times a year, and maybe oftener if there was something going on in my life, if there's any kind of an emotional upset or various things, And yeah, it's been part of my life now since 2005, really.
Nearly 20 years.
Nearly 20 years now. Yes. Yes. It has got me to where I am today, that inner peace now and happiness that I was craving back there in when I was in a relationship. I mean, if I don't have it myself, I can't find it. Someone can't give that to me. I have to find it within me. So, I mean, the relationship was brilliant in some ways and went on for a very long time, but it led me to where I needed to go to fulfill myself within. And if I wasn't there, I mean,
you can say that.
yeah,
Sorry,
and if I wasn't, yeah, Thanks, Celine. Thank you. And if I wasn't in that relationship, I may never have found homeopathy. Who knows? I mean, there's a whole pattern really to how I found it and the journey I've been on ever since, you know? So I don't see it at all, really. I'd never looked at it no, I did in the early days as failing. It was I felt a failure when it ended, you know? But now I don't really. I look at it now as being, I mean, it was there for X amount of years. It was great. It led me to a new life and a new journey, and I'm now living a very happy, content life. Nothing to compare to it. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And doesn't it take, I mean, that sounds such emotional maturity that you can, at this stage, and you can just see the benefits homeopathy have had for you, that you can actually,
Yes.
you know, talk about your life in such a way, not as a victim, because that's something
Yes.
I'm very conscious of. It's been a big shift for me as well, but seeing
Yes.
everything as, you
Yeah.
know, a stepping stone to the next
To the
stage.
next. Yes. Yes. And as part of my journey here in life. I mean, that relationship was part of my journey. I was meant to be there for. I was 10 years there, so we were meant to be 10 years together, and then it was time to move on to the next stage.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at any kind of, I suppose, any kind of change that happens in my life now, even with in the past with jobs or anything. If job ended, well, that's I was meant to be there for to learn whatever and meet whoever, and now it's over and on to the next.
Yeah.
You know.
Isn't it a wonderful way? Which I suppose it does depend what you like. Could I ask you then, what would you see the whole purpose of your life then? You know, because that does really influence how we look at things that happen to us. So, you know, everybody has a different perspective on this is it, I'm just here and then I'm gone. How would you describe the journey? You have a little bit there, the journey of life for you and what it's about and what it's meant to be.
Yes. Well, it's about learning, really, Celine, and learning from every experience, whether it's a job, a relationship with a person, a trauma that has occurred, whatever it is, it's all about learning and bringing the experience from that then and into our own, you know, and moving forward with it. And what I really enjoy now is helping people that are going through what I was going through back then. That's my real purpose now and supporting them in that journey now. Because I've been there, so I know what it's like. I've felt the feelings, I've had the healing. So I know what their journey is about too.
And do you work mainly with women, Delia?
It's mainly women, Celine. Yes, I'm very fascinated with just women's health in general. I always was, because I feel women are we're very powerful um, human beings, and we're very intuitive, and we have huge wisdom. And that's what I love. I love working with women's health now and supporting women on their journey and whatever change they want to make at whatever stage they're in their life, whether it's at the end of a breakup, going through the menopause, experiencing emptiness where the kids have moved out and moved on and they're in a bit of turmoil. They don't know what to want to do. They might want to change their career and they don't know what side to turn, you know, and maybe feeling stuck. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you work, you know, I love the way you say you work with the whole person. I think this is just where, you know, with a lot of the natural, you know, there's lots of different types of natural healing and medicine and herbalism. And I've talked to different people and I love
Yes.
the fact that it's always, what would I say? It's always been a bit curious to me how we got ourselves into a stage where we just believe we're treating symptoms. It never made sense to me. I just never really understood how we ever, you know, how could we not be treating the whole person? Even like you described there, a migraine.
Yes.
So two people could present to you, two different people with the migraine, and I'm
Yes.
assuming you go on two totally different journeys with each of those people.
Totally.
And totally
totally,
different
and each
remedies?
person would. And you're just going to say that, Celine, yeah, both people will get different remedies because they're a different emotional and mental background. No two people are the same, so you don't treat any two with the same remedy, you know? Yeah.
Whereas our current medical system would, we're all treated with the same.
It's all this, it's the same. There's one couple of remedy or a couple of
Yeah.
medicines for migraines or whatever, and people are generally given those, and there's no looking at the background to why it happened or what was going on in one's life when this happened, and I just love that. That's what I love.
And do you notice with the people who come to you, like I can only imagine, have you seen them have a lot of like light bulb moments? So as you go through maybe different sessions and as you said, go back into a trauma or an experience, and then maybe they clear or heal something, and then something else comes up. Like, do you notice clients sort of discovering new things about themselves or
Yes, yes, and being fascinated, at the power of a remedy and how they feel after even one remedy, Celine, can make a huge difference to someone's life. Sometimes people only need maybe two. They may be happy with that much healing. Like I never tell anyone to keep coming back. It's kind of it's up to the person themselves what level of healing they want. Because I mean, one or two remedy can bring about a huge change if it's the correct remedy for that person.
yeah.
And yeah, people are generally very happy with what results they can find them a bit more confident. Change career. I've seen people change careers because they've been unhappy in a job for years. They might be doing it for 20 years and they realize that, I actually can change here this if I want,
That's incredible.
you know.
And is it free? It's
It
all, is
is.
it all working? So when you talk about, compared to say someone taking a particular plant, say, or as the physical herbs or things, so is it working with, is it the energy or the frequency of the remedy that is working with you as
It's
opposed?
the energy, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the energy of the remedy that's working with you. So it takes generally 4 to 5 weeks after giving a remedy. We wait. You don't, we wait for about 4 to 5 weeks. You don't really come back within, any sooner than that because it takes that time for it to work with you and
Mm.
to bring about change and to see what actually happens in that time for you and what changes and what doesn't. And sometimes things may get worse. Symptoms can get worse as well before they change, and sometimes people can struggle with that, but that's
Mm.
part of healing. If you're going to bring it out, sometimes it can be a little messy and it's not always pleasant, you see. But I generally tell that to my clients, like to expect you may be crying or you may be tired or you may be emotional, whatever it may be, as you start on the healing journey.
But isn't that very real? I just think we need to hear that more because most of us now have got nearly terrified of any sort of symptom, that we have,
Yes, yes,
as opposed to
yes,
seeing it as either a messenger for us, that it's got something. I always think they say pain is a messenger, and
yeah,
pain isn't
yes,
necessarily something bad. It's usually like if a wound, isn't
no,
it? If you cut a wound and it starts to heal, there can be
yeah.
pain with that as the skin tightens or
Of course, and as it heals, then it gets less painful. So it's just healing itself. The body is healing that wound itself there very gently. And we might have to give it a little remedy or put a little homeopathic cream on it for a little while, but that's okay. It's still healing itself. But a pain or any kind of symptom is just a sign, really, that we need to pay attention here to something.
yeah. So would it be right to say, Delia, that the body is always trying to come back into balance? And so when we talk about illness or symptoms or pain, that really it's the body's natural intelligence trying to come
Yes,
back into what they call homeostasis, that is
yes,
generally the driving force that's driving the intelligence of the body.
yes, yeah, exactly, Celine. The body is trying to tell us that we need to pay attention to ourselves.
Yeah. Again, as I said, I always go back to breast cancer, and it's a topic I love to as I love to talk about, because I find there's often a similar pattern in a very different way, obviously, because we're all individual going on with someone else. And do you find people leave feeling, I suppose, very empowered? You know, it is a very, I think that's a passion I have as well, this sort of empowering ourselves.
Yes, I do. Yeah, people leave feeling empowered. Yes, and know that and they're learning as well, you see, from me or you, that there is another way of looking after ourselves, and that really that the body is telling us to pay attention. You need to change something. It's generally something needs to be changed. It's a lot of the time. You know, it could be a job, or it could be a relationship has come to the end of its time, and whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think it's really important, or how do you feel about, you know, when you talk about the trauma work, or, you know, traumas that have come up, or it could be, as you said, just a natural end of a chapter, and we're maybe a bit slow to change, and we get a bit of a nudge. Do you think that this type of work is important for anyone who really wants to get into what I call your sort of purpose in life? And our purpose is not just one big thing, I know, but do you think it's an essential part of everyday living? I'm sort of putting words in your mouth now, you know, but to sort of work on, you talked about going on this inner, you know, it was inner work you had to do.
Inner work, yes.
So how would you describe that? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel it's important to do the inner work, Celine. You know, if we're not healed ourselves, I feel it's very important to be healed ourselves. I'm talking about myself now. I knew I needed to heal myself because I had so much, I was carrying so much baggage, emotional baggage, from the end of my from that relationship ending, and probably from childhood as well. Stuff I hadn't dealt with through my childhood as well. Just all just went over my head. Thought life was going to be a bed of roses, and you just get on with it, you know. So, yeah, I feel the inner journey, inner work is vital, really, to be able to. And then, if you want to go on to support people, you need to be in a good space yourself.
Yeah. And when you say inner work, what would you see as being the inner work? You know, yes, okay, going on the healing, you know, with homeopathy. Are there other things that you would say were important for you?
The journey with homeopathy and my homeopath was brought major change to my life. And I suppose, meditation as well, Celine. It was at a time as well that I found meditation. And it was through a wonderful lady, and I'm sure you know her, Sharon Fitzmaurice. That's where I started my meditations first, many years ago, around Sharon's kitchen table. There was 5 or 6 of us, you know. And that brought huge benefits to my life as well. And today I still practice meditation. If it's not in groups, I meditate at home myself. And I find that very beneficial as well. If I have a really hectic day now, and, you know, just to go into a quiet space, I don't need music or anything. I just close my eyes, go into a quiet space, half an hour, 40 minutes. And it really rejuvenates again, you know, and just brings you that inner stillness, brings you into that inner space, that inner stillness again. And it's a time of, I find meditation is a time to reflect as well, because you can just have a little chat and ask, how am I feeling? Is there anything going on for me that I need to have a look at? You know, that's how I would live my life now.
It sounds very peaceful, and it sounds very
yes, I am in a very peaceful, content, happy place, Celine. Yes, and it's been a long journey, and it has taken a lot of inner work. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and isn't that facing yeah, yeah. And just in terms of a word, and I think I might have been saying this to you even before the interview, something that's been coming up a lot for me in general is grief. And I just be interested, I know you work with clients in this area. Now, when I say grief, for those of you watching or listening, I mean grief in the broadest sense, because yes, I've had some bereavements in the family, but even beyond that, there has been, I feel, a greater, let's say, collective grief? I mean, grief can be, I suppose, for many different things. Is that something you're sensing in your work now, or you're coming across a lot, Delia?
Yes, it
And
is, Celine. Yes,
is
a lot.
it?
Yeah, whether it's the grief of a loved one, it can also be with work, where jobs end, or somebody wants to leave a job and they think it's going to be so easy and just wonderful. But sometimes there can be a grieving process then, because when they're out, they realize, oh God, I miss all these people that I used to work with, and I miss the structure of it. And it can bring up fears and emotions, and what can I do now? And I never did anything else, so how am I going to get by? What else could I do? Brings up all sorts of insecurities and fears. So I work with people like that a lot as well, and homeopathy is fantastic for that.
And what do you find, like, what would you recommend in terms of the remedy? So does the remedy, so I'll just give an example.
Yes,
Say, okay, I give the example of I'm grieving, I'll say the loss of someone, or it's bringing up grief. Is it
it's bringing
always,
up grief.
yeah. And what I find interesting, and I wonder maybe other people will identify with this, I've had this, it's like I'm getting a one-on-one session with you now, Delia. But I
Yeah,
just think it's a topic it's good to sort of, particularly I think at this time of year, I think for a lot of people, for many different reasons, whether you might be
yes,
alone, there's a lot of pressure to be happy. Is it always related to a particular event, or could there be a number of events in their life that have now been triggered
yes,
to release through this one thing?
yes, yes, absolutely, Celine. Yes, it's not just a recent. Some people come with a recent grief. I say recent, it could be in the last few months. That would be considered recent. And there are remedies for recent grief, and then there's remedies for what we call old grief. So it could be grief from 3 or 4 years ago or longer even. And that it could be triggered now again by another grief or a
Yes.
situation that brought up the grief, like the loss of a job maybe, or something, that triggered it. Yeah, so there are remedies for wonderful remedies for grief. And again, it depends on what the type of person and what remedy that suits their personality and their type of grief, and how long they're grieving and how it's affecting their life. It all depends on that. This time of the year is a difficult time for anybody that has a recent loss, and then can bring up old losses as well for people.
So can it offer quite, I wouldn't say instant, I know there isn't an instant fix, but if someone now this time of year was feeling that and they came to you, is there something that you can give that can help to give
Yes,
them some relief quite quickly? That
yes,
so is it that it triggers the release of that, so then you're letting that
yeah,
energy move through you? Is that
yes.
sort of part
That's
of
what
it?
it does. Yes, it releases that old stuckness that's there from the grief, whenever it was, whether it's quite recent or a while back. Yeah, and
Yeah.
there are various remedies that can be given to help ease that process. I mean, we still have to go through the grief, and everybody grieves differently then as well, Celine. It's a different process for everybody. Some people it takes a lot longer than others. Some have a lot of anger. Some don't want to talk about it. Some are very much in despair, in denial, whatever. Depends on what, yeah. And they might get stuck with one area or another. They could be in denial for ages. They could be in despair for ages. It varies with every person. There's no two the same.
But it sounds like you have to have quite good, like when you're in your training, really quite good counseling skills almost as well, because
Yes,
do you,
yes, yes, you do. Yeah. And to get to that place where that person is, to unravel what's going on for them, so that you can choose the best remedy for them at this moment in time.
yeah, it sounds like you really need very good sort of discernment skills, because as you said, you're working, even to determine what type of grief is which
Yes,
remedy. So you
yes.
obviously might have to, I wouldn't say experiment, do you, a little bit, or does that just come more with practice and
It comes
with
more
working?
practice. Sometimes you can see very early on in a consultation what somebody needs. Other times it could take a bit longer. You'd have to dig a bit deeper to see what they need, you know. But it becomes better with experience, of course. Yeah.
Would you say with most conditions or reasons people come to you, Delia, that it's like that the sort of life force energy has got stuck, that really we're always, you know, we are, you know, our bodies are designed and everything is designed to be in flow and moving, and grief and different things, this has been my experience, causes the energy to get stuck. It's sort of suppressed, and then that can lead to it being expressed in the body in illness. That's sort of how I see it for myself. Would that be sort of a general rule with most things that we have or struggle with?
Yes. I feel it would, Celine, really, yeah. If things are not dealt with when they happen, they can cause us to, as you said, become stuck. And, you know, you could have people coming with grief from, they want help for grief from 5 years ago or longer even, because they didn't deal with it that time when it occurred. They didn't feel they needed to, maybe, or they just suppressed it and kept going, you know. And now something else has happened that triggered the grief again, and they realize that, oh my God, and you know, where's all this coming from? I thought I had this dealt with, and you know. So I feel it's really important to deal with traumas or grief or any kind of situations like that as they happen, if we can, if we're aware enough to do that, to prevent further illness or complications later in life. Because if it's not dealt with, it is going to come out as a bigger symptom further on, whether it's a disease, a physical disease, or whatever, or a pain somewhere, you know.
But isn't that part of, I've sort of felt that, I think that there's a big need, you know, listening to you and for people like you to be speaking more publicly, that we need to, I think, sort of shift the way we talk about, and I know trauma can become, I'm say, an overused word, but like experiences and things that happen to us in life that hurt us and cause us to suffer or be in pain, that there's more of a shift towards supporting people to process those when they happen, as opposed to getting on with it. That's something I think we've all been reared with, this getting on with it.
Get on with it, like what's wrong with you, you know. Get on with it, head off to work and just get on with it, you know. But it's not that way really for most people, you know. We all get hurt and we all experience pain of some sort, whether it is rejection, loss, in love, or whatever. And we need to deal with that. And sometimes it takes a long time for some people and not that long for others. It depends on the individual and how they experience the experience of it, and how they deal with it, really, as to how it will affect your life.
Yeah. And I'd be interested as well, Delia, in what you think of. I was just reading that homeopathy is about 200 years old. Like it's, you know.
Yes.
And there seems to be, I mean, there has been, but if you look back a few hundred years, all of these sort of natural medicines, let's say, seem to be the norm. This was how we dealt with life.
This is how,
and things,
and illness and pain, and
Do you see that there's a bigger revival? I mean, I know that's always been a bit on the fringes: plant medicine, herbalism, energy healing, all of these different things. Do you get a sense that that's just from people coming to you, that there's a greater interest, or what would be your experience in recent times?
Yes, I feel, Celine, that there is a shift. Yes, definitely. Yeah, from, we'll say, when I started in 2000, when I was qualified in 2009, we'll say. So from that time to, we'll say, now, I noticed in recent years, certainly in the last 2 to 3 years, people are looking for more now. They want the more natural, and they're asking, is there another way?
Yeah, isn't there? That's one of my favorite mantras these days, is there is another way.
There is another way. Yes.
There is another way, isn't there? I think
Yes,
many
yes,
of
and it's
us,
absolutely wonderful. There's many, many other alternatives to help us with our everyday struggles and health issues in life other
yeah,
than pharmaceutical. You know, as I
yeah.
said, homeopathy has been around for over 200 years. And that's how, back then, that's how people healed themselves. And herbalism, they're all around for years and years.
There's something very interesting in that because, and I mean, I say this now to anyone listening or watching, it's not to say there's a right or wrong. I went through, the conventional treatment for medicine for breast cancer. I went through the conventional treatment for breast
Yes,
cancer, but I also dealt with it holistically. I would make different choices now. There is no right or wrong. It's very personal and individual. But I
yeah,
do think it's very
yes,
important to educate and inform people and empower people,
yes.
isn't it? If
That's
a
what I
system
feel.
isn't empowering
Yes,
you in a sustainable way, that you're not coming back over and over and over again, because there is no profit, I suppose it's seen in certain
yes,
industries if people are not coming back. So I just
yes.
think that personally, I love having people like you on the podcast
Yeah.
because it's all about choice for people,
It's all
isn't it?
about choice. And it's,
Yeah.
yeah. And as you said, empowering people to know and to learn that there are several ways of looking after ourselves other than if you want to. And sometimes we have to go the pharmaceutical route, and that's okay too. Whatever works for people, really. I always
Yeah.
say, whatever works, and
Yeah.
whatever people are, they have to be happy within themselves with their choice of what they want to use, you
I
know.
think we're both examples, I hope, of people who've been through very difficult circumstances, and like many people, but have found a different way of living that I suppose supports us mind, body, spirit, and empowers us and gives us the tools to stay well, because this, you know, it sort of seems to me sort of crazy in this day and age that it does seem like illnesses of all sorts are at a much higher level than they ever were.
Ever.
And it's
Yes.
just,
Yes.
there has to be another way. I keep saying that there has to be another way. What other things support you as well in your daily life?
In nature is very important to me, Celine. I love out in nature. I just feel I've always loved walking. I've been walking really for years and years. Years. I love walking in woods. I love walking by the sea. I just love the air, even if it's kind of wet or rain or anything. It's still okay because it's just I feel invigorated from just the fresh air and just connecting with nature. That'd be one of my practices also, you know. And I suppose having good friends to share with that can listen when you need to air something and can understand it. That's very important to me as well. That get
That
me.
supports you, isn't it? Yeah, I would
Yeah,
say
that
the
supports
same.
me. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
on the same, on a same wavelength. But I think that's another, just when you touch on it there, I think that's another thing I see as being very important now, this whole idea of holding space for each other and being able to truly listen. And it's not something I can say I was necessarily always very good at, because I didn't know how
Yeah,
to. Um,
yes.
but there is nothing greater when I've experienced as well, someone truly listening to me. And I think it is one of the most healing
It's
things
absolutely
that we
wonderful.
can do.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, I wasn't always. I mean, I might have thought I was listening to people at times, Celine, but sometimes I wasn't, And it's something now that I'm more aware of now, to be really in that space with a person if they want to share with me. Sometimes that just does it as well, Celine, just to be able to share whatever your innermost feelings with another human, and they're to totally be in that zone with you and listening to you. That's amazing. There's healing in that alone. If you have one or two good friends that you can do that with, you're very, very blessed.
Absolutely. You'd mentioned earlier about women and being very intuitive and these sort of, I suppose, qualities that are in women, but they're obviously in men, but they're more obviously prominent, I suppose, in women,
Yes.
or expressed maybe in a different way. Do you sense, or do you feel there's a shift? I sense that I think there is on the planet in terms of those sort of qualities becoming more important and needed, I suppose.
Yes, I do, Celine. I feel that, yeah, definitely they're definitely more needed. Yes, and there is a change, and I see it there, every day, and it's wonderful. I really feel this is a time now of big change in
Yeah,
the universe.
how would you
Yeah.
describe, what's your sense of what's happening right now? Everybody, I think, has, some people might say there's nothing happening. I think anyone watching this, or, most people would feel there is something, and we all have probably different perspectives. But what's your sense of what's happening now on the planet?
What's my sense of what's happening? I think we're being asked really to I suppose look within and find our true nature and our true purpose in life, why we're really here. That's what I feel personally. For me, that's what I feel is happening. I really feel it more in the last few months even. What do I want to do? What can I change? Um what we don't need really falls away from us. I'm finding that actually what I no longer need in my life, whether it's a habit or a practice or something, is it just falls away from my life. And I remember many years ago going to a homeopath, and it was in the very early days of healing now, and she said to me, as you go on your healing journey now, you will lose many things and people along the way. And I was a bit shocked at the time. I thought, what? Yeah, she said, sure, you're changing and you're on a new journey now, so you will lose people. Not everybody's going to go with you. So then I really got it, I thought, oh my God, yeah. Yeah, and I've seen lots of that in my time, Celine, over the last few years, where various people might be in my life, and then there'd be no contact with it. And it's not that anything happened specifically, it's just that we're on different frequencies now.
That's it.
And not everybody's going to come along with us because it's not their journey, and that's fine too. I'm okay with that. I totally understand that now, and I see that now. A lot in the change that's gone on now at the moment. Not everybody's going to come along with me on my journey because mine is different to theirs, and theirs is different to mine. And both is okay because that's where they're meant to be, and this is where I'm meant to be, and it's quite. I find it quite. I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I feel the same, I have to say, and I think we're shifting from this sort of, we all have to be the same, or we have to be with the same people all the time, or life is meant to be flow. For me,
Yes.
it's been a big
Yeah.
big, say, struggle or journey for me to, and still can be, but I understand when I move with flow, in flow, and sort of like we
Yeah.
talked about with the traumas and letting things move with us, and when we align more with who we truly are, that stillness, as you talk about, you come back to your natural frequency, your energetic frequency as a human being, and then your life starts, doesn't it? Like exactly as you said, the right, people, not even the right people, but people that are meant to be in your life right now will be here. And I've experienced that.
We'll be
People
here.
just
Yes.
not
Yeah.
out of any argument or nothing. I could be
Yes,
walking
exactly.
down, you could be walking down the road, and people I saw every day, I just don't see anymore. I don't know where they're gone.
Yes, you don't know where they're gone, but yeah, you just don't see them, and nothing really happened. It's just that you're on different journeys and different paths now.
Yeah.
But I also believe that we learn from everybody we've been with, Celine. I mean, there was a period of time to be there with that friend, and we were to be, everybody we meet, we're meant to be with, I believe, for a
Me too.
period of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
do. And
To
I
learn
think,
whatever.
sorry, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned from them. I'm sure they learned from me, whatever. And now our paths have gone separate ways and we just move on.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes, aren't they, can be, I've often found some of the most difficult relationships have often been the greatest teachers. I mightn't have felt it at the
Yes.
time, like
Yes,
in
we didn't feel it. Yes, totally get it. Yeah, we didn't feel it at the time. But they're the biggest teachers. Yeah, the most difficult times in our lives are the biggest teachers, really, listening. The worst
Yeah,
times. But at the
yeah,
time, we don't realize that. We just think, why is this happening to me? I don't want this.
yeah. And
But
if, Delia, could I ask you just before I keep saying this, but then there's always something else I want to ask you, but just when you've spoke there, if
okay.
someone is feeling in a very, say, difficult place right now at this time of year, is there certain words of advice or something you might recommend if they're feeling really in despair? Because it can be amplified this
Yes.
time of year, I
At
think.
this time there it can be difficult, yes, because it can be a very lonely time for lots of people. But definitely to reach out. Don't stay alone with it. Reach out, talk to somebody, look for support from a homeopath, a herbalist, whoever. Don't be alone with your struggles, because a problem shared is a problem halved, I feel.
It really is. And I think it's as well as to look at, someone said this to me and I just, it really resonated with me as well, because we always say, reach out and talk to someone. But if the first person you talk to, maybe you feel, oh my God, they didn't hear me, or, there must be something wrong with me, because I've had this happen in my life and I blamed myself and thought,
Yeah.
okay, I must keep this problem to myself because that person sort of rejected me or didn't listen. And I would say to someone as
Yes.
well, maybe they may not be the right person. So if you, even though as hard as it is, if you do
Yes.
reach out, and just maybe they have something going on in their own lives, or maybe they're not able, and maybe they're not the
They
right
might be
person to
able,
help you.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
it is really important. Don't see that as a
Yes.
rejection of you, or that,
No. No.
you know,
Just mightn't be the person for you to share with. That they mightn't be in the place to be able to help you.
yeah.
But it's important to reach out. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. And just seeing as this podcast is called Wild Woman, I have to ask you that question.
Okay.
As a what does living as and being a wild woman mean to you?
To me, um, what it means to me, a wild woman.
Because you
um,
are one, obviously.
yes, from on this podcast, I must
Yes,
be
exactly.
considered a wild woman. It's freedom to be myself. Yeah, freedom to make my own choices for my life and trust my gut, and yeah, freedom to be me.
Good, good. I love that. So thanks very much, Delia, for being on the podcast today. And
You're
your
very welcome, Celine.
yeah, really appreciated it. So just before we go, can you let the audience know how they can make contact with you, if they would like to book a session or learn more about the work you do? Because sorry, I didn't get into in this podcast about, because I know you do Reiki healing and isn't it symptom healing as well? So
Yes.
that people can find more. So where should we direct people? And I'll put it all in the
Yeah.
description box.
Yes, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and my website is Delia Nohilly, homeopathy.com.
Okay, I'll put that in the description box, and I assume you're under
Yes.
your name on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Delia, and thank you everybody for watching and listening. Just what I'm going to do as I finish up the podcast here, I'm going to play a short little poem that I wrote about grief and loss, and I hope it helps anyone who may be feeling that more generally. And other than that, I would like to wish you all a very happy Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, or if not, just a very happy December and end of the year before we head into 2024, when I'll be back with lots of new guests. And yeah, thank you so much, Delia, and wishing you a lovely holiday period, I will say.
Thank you, Celine, and the same to you. Happy Christmas and
Happy
very
Christmas.
happy 2024.
Thank you, Delia. Winter's Embrace by Celine O'Donovan. Inspired by and in memory of Gerd Hanbury. Come sit with me, dear one. Drop your load. It is needed no more. Stretch out your weary limbs and drink from the darkness that envelops you. A nourishing balm sent to soothe and heal. This season is an invitation to feel. Shrug off the remnants of all that must go. There is no other choice. Let the tears flow. Salty and bitter, laden with loss. Don't suppress them. There is a cost. I will hold you as the old world sings its dying cry. I will rock you as your loved ones say goodbye. In the depth of the darkness is the seed of the new. Those gone before us have laid the groundwork for me and you. Sink deeply into winter's embrace and listen for the whisperings of a new dawn. Feel the secrets of the ancestors come alive in you as the waves of your grief carry them home to fill the spaces in between. And as the seasons turn and a new light burns, dream a new dream, sing a new song. It is they who will you on.